It began with laughter, cold, metallic laughter echoing across the galaxy. The Krell Empire, one of the oldest and most powerful alien civilizations, had discovered Earth by accident. Their ships, dark and massive as mountains, hovered in the void near Jupiter. They looked at Earth the way a hunter looks at a wounded animal, curious, amused, and cruel. From their command ship Vorath Prime, Emperor Zorath leaned forward in his golden throne. His red eyes shimmered as he stared at the blue planet on the screen. "This is the place they call Earth," he said, voice dripping with mockery. "So weak. So primitive. And yet they call themselves intelligent life." His officers laughed behind him. Zorath's second-in-command, Captain Vexer, grinned. "Their weapons are like toys, my emperor. Their machines still crawl on the ground. They are nothing compared to our power." Zorath smiled. "Then let us teach them their place in the stars." The Krell decided to send a message, not one of peace, but of humiliation. They broadcasted their voice across all human communication networks. Every television, every radio, every phone screen flickered with a strange signal. Then came a deep, echoing voice. "People of Earth, you are nothing. Your world is small. Your weapons are useless. We are the Krell Empire, rulers of 1,000 worlds. Bow before us, and we may let your planet live." The message lasted only 30 seconds, but it was enough to throw Earth into chaos. Governments panicked. Satellites detected something, huge ships in orbit, larger than any city. The world realized it was no joke. In Washington, D.C., the president sat in the underground war room, surrounded by generals and scientists. "Can we fight them?" she asked. Dr. Ethan Ward, head of the Deep Space Defense Program, looked pale. "Their energy signatures are off the charts. One ship could destroy half the planet." "So what do we do?" the president demanded. Ethan hesitated, then said quietly, "We survive. Or at least try." But deep inside, Ethan was not ready to surrender. He had worked for years on something secret, something not even the government knew about. Project Helios. It was hidden under the Nevada desert, in a facility known as the Forge. While the world trembled, Ethan made a call. "Activate Helios," he said into the encrypted channel. This is not a drill. Far above Earth, the Krell ships began their demonstration. A beam of blue light fired from orbit and hit the Pacific Ocean. The water exploded upward, creating a wave taller than skyscrapers. Millions watched the disaster live, the aliens' warning to humanity. Emperor Zorath laughed as he watched the destruction. "Let them fear us. Fear makes obedience easy." But among the humans, fear was slowly turning into something else. Anger. In a small military base in Arizona, Commander Sarah Kane clenched her fists as she watched the alien broadcast. "They think we're insects," she said. "Let's show them what insects can do." She and her squad were among the few who knew about Helios. It wasn't a weapon, at least not in the usual sense. It was a defense system powered by something found deep under the Earth decades ago, a strange crystal that reacted to human brainwaves. Scientists never fully understood it, but they discovered one terrifying truth. It grew stronger when humans felt anger and unity. Now, Earth was full of both. As the alien fleet moved closer, strange readings began to appear on Krell scanners. Energy spikes from the planet's surface. Unknown, unstable, and growing stronger by the second. Captain Vexer frowned. "My Emperor, we are detecting something unusual from the northern continent." Zorath smirked. "Ignore it. They are desperate animals." But then, the impossible happened. One of the Krell scout ships simply vanished, torn apart by a blinding pulse from Earth's surface. "What was that?" Zorath shouted. The sensors struggled to make sense of the data. It wasn't nuclear. It wasn't plasma. It was something alive. Back on Earth, Ethan stood inside the forge, his hand on a glowing crystal. It pulsed with light, matching his heartbeat. "You wanted to mock us," he whispered. "Now, You'll see what humans can become when they're cornered. Above him, the Helios network came online. Beams of golden light shot through the clouds, connecting cities, mountains, and oceans, as if the planet itself was awakening. In the skies, the alien ships turned their weapons toward Earth again, but their energy blasts began to fail. Something was absorbing them. Zoratha's laughter faded. "This cannot be," he hissed. "No primitive world has this power." Ethan smiled grimly as he watched from the monitors. "You made one mistake, Emperor," he said. "You thought fear makes us weak. But fear makes us fight." The battle for Earth had just begun. And this time, humanity was not fighting for survival. They were fighting to teach the galaxy a lesson, that mocking Earth was the last mistake the Krell Empire would ever make. The first light of dawn touched the Nevada desert, but the ground was trembling like a living thing. Deep below, inside the forge, alarms echoed through the steel corridors. Ethan Ward stood before the glowing Helios core, a swirling mass of golden light, alive and humming with strange energy. Every few seconds, the entire chamber vibrated as if the planet itself was breathing. Commander Sarah Kane entered, her uniform dusty from the chaos above. "You did it, Doctor," she said. "The whole world saw that pulse. You just wiped an alien ship out of the sky." Ethan didn't look happy. His eyes were fixed on the readings. "It wasn't supposed to destroy anything," he said quietly. "Helios reacts to emotion." That pulse came from millions of people feeling the same thing: rage, unity, defiance. "It's alive, Sarah. And it's learning." Before she could reply, the ground shook again. A red warning flashed across the screens: multiple Krell ships entering lower orbit. Sarah clenched her jaw. "They're coming for us." Ethan nodded. "Then we fight." Far above the Earth, Emperor Zorath was furious. His crimson eyes glowed like burning coals. "How can this be?" he roared. "They have no technology capable of such energy." Captain Vexer stepped forward cautiously. "Our analysts believe their power source is biological. It's connected to the planet somehow. We have never seen such synchronization." Zoratha's claws scraped the armrest of his throne. "Destroy the source. I want that planet burning." The command went out. Dozens of Krell warships descended into the atmosphere, their engines glowing blue and deadly. They formed a line across the sky, a wall of death above Earth. Cities below screamed as the shadows of alien ships darkened the horizon. But this time, humans didn't run. They watched. They waited. They believed. In the forge, Ethan's team worked without rest. Engineers shouted across platforms, soldiers loaded heavy weapons, and screens filled with data from around the world. Helios nodes, hidden energy towers planted secretly across continents, were beginning to activate one by one. Sarah turned to Ethan. "The system's linking. What happens when all nodes are active?" Ethan took a deep breath. "Then Earth stops being just a planet." He looked up at the holographic globe glowing above them. "It becomes a weapon." The first wave hit just after sunrise. Blue energy blasts from orbit rained down on the desert, shaking the ground like thunder. The forge's upper levels collapsed under the impact, sending fire and dust through the air. Sarah shouted, "We can't hold much longer. Keep the core stable." Ethan yelled back, "Helios needs more time." Then, a miracle. The desert sky turned gold. A massive energy field erupted from the ground, forming a shimmering dome over the entire region. The alien blasts struck it, and vanished. The dome absorbed them like water soaking into sand. Zorath watched from his flagship, eyes wide in disbelief. "They are blocking our fire power?" "Not blocking," Vexer said, scanning the data. "Redirecting." Suddenly, golden lightning shot upward from Earth, striking one of the Krell ships. The entire vessel exploded into shards of molten metal. "Return fire!" Zorath screamed. Dozens of beams tore through the sky, but the Helios network twisted them back, redirecting their own energy. One after another, the ships fell, burning, breaking, dying. Humanity was fighting back, and for the first time, they were winning. In the forge, power surged through the systems. Lights flickered, and the Helios core pulsed brighter than ever before. Ethan staggered as a wave of energy passed through him, a connection between his mind and the machine. For a brief moment, he saw everything: the burning sky, the terrified humans, the courage in their hearts. He felt it all. Sarah grabbed his arm. "Ethan, talk to me. What's happening?" He looked at her, eyes glowing faintly gold. "It's talking to me. The planet. It knows what's happening. It's protecting us." High above, chaos tore through the Krell fleet. Their communication systems broke down. Ships collided as golden storms ripped through their ranks. Vexer turned to his emperor, voice shaking. "We must retreat. We underestimated them." But Zoratha's pride burned hotter than his fear. "No. I will not flee from insects." He slammed his hand onto the control panel. "Prepare the Oblivion Lance." The massive ship's underbelly opened, revealing a weapon larger than any city. Energy gathered at its tip, black, pulsing, and terrifying. It was the Krell's ultimate weapon, capable of vaporizing an entire planet. On Earth, Ethan suddenly felt the shift. His voice went cold. "They're charging something, something huge." Sarah stared at the radar. "If that fires..." "It won't," Ethan interrupted. "Not while I'm alive." He turned toward the glowing Helios core and placed both hands on its surface. "Helios, listen to me," he whispered. "You were born from our pain. Now rise with our hope." The light exploded outward. Across the globe, the Helios network reached full synchronization. From mountain peaks to ocean floors, golden energy flowed like blood through the planet's veins. The entire Earth lit up in space, a burning sphere of light. Zoratha's weapon fired, a massive black beam tearing through the void. But before it could hit, the golden aura of Earth met it head-on. The two energies clashed, shaking the heavens. Space itself rippled. Then, in a blinding flash, the dark beam shattered. The shockwave tore through the Krell fleet, sending ships spinning into chaos. Zoratha's throne room cracked, alarms blaring. He looked at the burning planet below and whispered in disbelief, "This is impossible." Back on Earth, Ethan collapsed, breathing hard. The golden light faded to a soft glow. Sarah knelt beside him. "You did it. You stopped them." Ethan smiled weakly. "No," he said. "We did it. The planet did it. Humanity did it." Far above, the surviving Krell ships began to retreat, limping, broken, terrified. But Zoratha's voice echoed through the static. "This isn't over, human. You've earned our respect, and our wrath." As his fleet vanished into the darkness, Ethan whispered, "Then come again, Emperor. This time, Earth will be ready." The war was far from over, it had just begun. The stars above Earth were quiet again, but everyone knew it was only the calm before the next storm. The world had seen warships fall from the sky, had felt the ground shake with alien fire, and had witnessed something even more shocking: Earth itself awakening. For the first time in history, humanity stood together. Borders no longer mattered. Every nation was connected by the Helios network, glowing towers that pulsed with golden light like veins of a living planet. Inside the forge, deep under the Nevada desert, Dr. Ethan Ward sat in silence. His hands trembled slightly as he stared at the Helios core. It was smaller now, its energy resting like a heartbeat between pulses. Commander Sarah Kane entered the control room, her uniform scorched but her spirit unbroken. "They're gone," she said softly. "At least for now." Ethan nodded. "Yes. But Zorath won't stay gone. He'll come back, stronger." Sarah crossed her arms. "Then we get stronger too. The whole world's waiting for your next move." Ethan turned to the holographic globe glowing in the center of the room. Around the world, small lights blinked: bases, research centers, and power stations linked to Helios. We have one advantage, he said quietly. We've got something the Krell fear, unpredictability. Meanwhile, far away, in the blackness between stars, the Krell fleet limped home. Their once proud warships were scarred and broken. Inside the Imperial flagship Vorith Prime, silence ruled the command deck. Emperor Zorith sat in his dark throne, staring at the projection of Earth, that small, defiant world that had humiliated him. Captain Vexer stood before him, his armor cracked, his pride gone. My Emperor, the losses are severe. Half the fleet destroyed. The Oblivion Lance. Silence, Zorith growled, his voice low and deadly. I don't want excuses. I want vengeance. He rose slowly from his throne, the light from the burning hologram reflecting off his metallic skin. They used something alive. A power that grows from emotion. Find out what it is. Find me something that can kill it. Vexer bowed deeply. There is one possibility. The ancient weapon, the Void Reaper. It hasn't been activated for centuries. Zorith's eyes narrowed. Then wake it. If Earth wants to fight like gods, we'll show them what gods truly are. Back on Earth, humanity began its greatest project. Across the planet, shipyards rose from oceans and deserts. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers worked side by side, building not just weapons, but hope. They called it Project Dawnfire, humanity's first defense fleet built with Helios technology. Sarah stood on the deck of the first completed ship, Helios Vanguard, its silver hull glowing faintly under the sun. She ran her hand across the metal. Beautiful, she whispered. Ethan joined her, wearing his new commander's badge reluctantly. It's not just a ship, he said. It's a promise. We won't wait for them to come to us next time. The Vanguard hummed as its engines came alive, powered by a smaller version of the Helios core. The ship lifted gently, hovering above the desert floor like a rising phoenix. Soldiers and scientists below cheered. For the first time, Earth had its own wings. But celebration didn't last long. 3 weeks after the victory, deep space sensors picked up something strange, a disturbance far beyond the moon. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't even a ship. It was something larger. Something alive. Ethan watched the feed in disbelief. That's not a vessel, he said. It's feeding on energy. It's like a black storm. Sarah frowned. Are you saying they sent a living weapon? Yes, Ethan said grimly. And it's heading straight for us. In the cold darkness of space, the Void Reaper drifted silently. It looked like a shadow-given form, part machine, part creature, its surface rippling like liquid metal. It fed on light itself, devouring stars to grow stronger. And inside it, the voice of Zorith echoed. Earth thinks it has power. Let them try to stop this. The Reaper's eyes opened, twin voids that swallowed starlight. When the Reaper entered the solar system, every satellite went dark. Communications failed. Power grids flickered. The golden glow of the Helios network dimmed for the first time. Panic spread across cities. The world watched as the stars above began to vanish one by one. Sarah slammed her fist on the control table. They're cutting us off from the sun. Ethan's face went pale. Helios draws part of its power from solar energy. If the sun's light fades, the planet will die, Sarah finished. But then, Ethan's eyes narrowed. Unless we turn Helios inward. What do you mean? Helios doesn't just draw power from the sun. It draws from us. From human thought, emotion, unity. If every mind on Earth connects, we might create enough power to fight back. Sarah looked at him like he was insane. You're asking billions of people to sync their minds together? Ethan smiled faintly. Yes. And for the first time in history, they might actually do it. Across the world, messages went out through the Helios network. Governments, leaders, soldiers, and civilians all received one call to action. Not to fight, not to run, but to believe. People stepped outside, looked up at the darkening sky, and closed their eyes. From the tallest skyscrapers to the poorest villages, one thought echoed through every mind. We will not kneel. The Helios network flared to life. Golden light burst from cities and mountains, flowing through rivers and oceans. The planet glowed once again, brighter, stronger, alive. In orbit, the Helios Vanguard led the new fleet into the dark. Ethan's voice echoed through the comms. All ships, this is humanity's first stand beyond the sky. Let's show them what unity means. The ships opened fire, their golden cannons slicing through the void. Beams of energy struck the Void Reaper, forcing it to howl, a deep, terrifying sound that shook space itself. Zorith watched in disbelief as his weapon bled light. Impossible. No creature has ever wounded the Reaper. Ethan's voice came through the static. You should have learned, Emperor. The more you mock us, the stronger we get. The battle for the stars had begun. The void was no longer silent. It burned with gold and black fire as humanity's first space fleet clashed against the most terrible weapon the galaxy had ever seen, the Void Reaper. The Helios Vanguard led the formation. Its engines glowed like miniature suns, leaving trails of light across the darkness. Behind it, dozens of ships, built by once rival nations, now moved as one. Their captains didn't speak different languages anymore. Every voice on the comms carried one message: for Earth. Inside the command deck, Commander Sarah Kane stood at the front window, watching the monstrous Reaper in the distance. It was enormous, a shifting black storm with tentacles of metal and plasma. It devoured everything in its path: asteroids, light, even radio waves. Dr. Ethan Ward stood beside her, eyes locked on the data screens. It's absorbing energy faster than we can hit it, he said quietly. It's like a living black hole. Sarah gritted her teeth. Then we need to feed it something it can't swallow. Ethan turned to her slowly. You mean Helios itself? On the other side of the battle, Emperor Zorith watched from his flagship far beyond the fight. The Reaper's shadow stretched across space, and his voice filled the command chamber. Look at them, he said coldly. Tiny ships made of fear and hope. They think emotion can defeat creation itself. Captain Vexer glanced uneasily at the glowing images of the human fleet. They have wounded the Reaper, my Emperor. If they find a way to control that golden power. Zoritha's glare silenced him. No one controls the dark. No one survives the Reaper. But deep inside, the Emperor felt something he hadn't felt in centuries: doubt. Back on the Helios Vanguard, Ethan moved to the center of the bridge. Helios energy reacts to emotion, but it can also merge with living minds. We saw it before, when I touched the core. Sarah frowned. You're saying you can control it directly? Ethan nodded. If I connect with the fleet's cores, I might be able to channel all our power into one single strike. Enough to destroy the Reaper completely. That's suicide, Sarah said sharply. He gave a faint smile. Maybe. But it's better than letting it reach Earth. For a moment, the two just stared at each other, silent, surrounded by alarms and flashing lights. Finally, Sarah reached out and gripped his shoulder. If you're going to do this, you're not doing it alone. The ships moved into formation, circling the Reaper like golden stars. Energy began to build, faint at first, then brighter, hotter. Across every ship, Helios cores lit up in sync with Ethan's heartbeat. He closed his eyes. Helios, connect. Golden light wrapped around his body. He wasn't just seeing anymore, he was everywhere. He could feel every pilot, every soldier, every heartbeat on Earth. Their fear, their courage, their hope. And the Reaper felt it too. It screamed, a sound that made the stars tremble. Zoritha's voice echoed across the fleet. What are they doing? Stop them. Now. But it was too late. The golden network flared brighter than the sun. Every human mind became part of one consciousness, united by the same thought: we will not die here. The Reaper unleashed its full power. Black waves of energy ripped through the fleet, tearing ships apart. Screams filled the comms. The Vanguard's shields cracked, sparks flying across the bridge. Sarah was thrown to the ground. "Ethan!" she shouted. "It's too much." But Ethan didn't move. His eyes were glowing gold now, and his voice echoed with something more than human. "It's learning. It's changing." The Reaper's darkness surrounded the fleet, swallowing light itself. For a moment, all seemed lost. Then, from the heart of the chaos, a single pulse of light burst outward. It came from Ethan. The pulse spread across every ship, every satellite, every Helios tower back on Earth. The light connected everything: humans, machines, oceans, mountains. It was no longer just energy. It was life. And when the Reaper tried to consume it, it screamed in pain. Its black armor cracked. The golden light poured into the wounds, filling them with burning fire. The creature twisted, its form melting under the storm of human energy. Zoreth watched in horror. "No, no, this cannot be. The Reaper devours life. It cannot be devoured itself." But it was. The golden storm consumed the Reaper from within. In its final moment, it tried to flee, but the light followed, swallowing it whole. Then, silence. The battlefield drifted with glowing dust. The Reaper was gone. The stars returned. Inside the Helios Vanguard, the systems flickered. Smoke filled the bridge. Sarah coughed, calling out, "Ethan! Ethan, answer me." He was lying near the Helios interface, his eyes still faintly glowing. He looked up weakly, smiling. "We did it." Sarah knelt beside him, holding his hand. "Yeah, we did." The golden light outside the window began to fade, leaving behind the calm beauty of space. For the first time in human history, Earth had fought among the stars, and won. But the story wasn't over. Far away, deep within the remains of the Krell Empire, Emperor Zoreth stood alone in his throne room. His fleet was gone, his empire broken. But his rage, his pride, burned brighter than ever. He turned to the stars, his claws curling into fists. "So be it, humans. You have awakened the gods of war. The next time we meet, the galaxy itself will burn." And far across the void, the fragments of the Void Reaper began to move, drawn toward something even darker. Something ancient. Something waiting. 1 year after the Battle of the Void, Earth was no longer the same. The scars of war still marked the sky, black streaks from the falling wrecks of alien ships, but the world had changed forever. Humanity was no longer bound to the ground. The Helios Vanguard now orbited Earth as the command ship of the new Terran Defense Fleet. From orbit, Commander Sarah Kane looked down at the glowing blue planet and felt a strange mix of pride and sorrow. "We should have been exploring the stars long ago," she whispered. "It took a war to remind us we belong among them." Beside her, Dr. Ethan Ward stood quietly, still carrying the faint gold shimmer in his eyes, a reminder of the day he merged with the Helios core. "Sometimes," he said, "the universe has to break something before it lets it grow." On Mars, red dust storms swept across the surface as the first human colony, Helios Prime, began to rise. Domes of glass and steel glowed under the alien sun, powered by fragments of Helios energy. Children played under the transparent sky. Soldiers trained beside scientists. For the first time, humanity wasn't just surviving, it was expanding. The people called it the Dawn Age. But in the darkness between stars, something was waking. Far beyond the edge of known space, in the ruins of the Krell homeworld, Emperor Zoreth stood before a massive stone door, carved with ancient symbols that pulsed faintly red. Captain Vexer, his once loyal soldier, hesitated. "My emperor, you can't mean to release them. The legends say." Zoreth turned sharply, eyes burning. "The legends say they devour stars." "Good." He placed his hand on the door, and the runes flared to life. "Because this time, I will feed them a planet." The door groaned open, releasing a wave of black mist that moved like living smoke. From within came a sound, deep, hungry, ancient. Who dares disturb our sleep? Zorith bowed his head. I am Emperor Zorith of the Krell. I come to offer you vengeance. The voice laughed, a sound that made space itself tremble. Vengeance is sweet, but hunger is stronger. From the darkness, shapes began to form, massive, skeletal beings with wings made of starlight and shadows. Their eyes burned like dying suns. They were older than the Krell Empire, older than Helios, older than most stars. They were the Star Eaters. Back in the solar system, strange readings began to appear across the Helios network. Ethan noticed them first, faint pulses from deep space, irregular but growing stronger. These aren't signals, he said to Sarah in the Vanguard's war room. They're echoes, something massive is moving toward us. Sarah frowned. Krell survivors? He shook his head slowly. No. Something older. Before he could explain, the room's lights flickered. Alarms blared. The holographic map of the solar system showed several red distortions appearing beyond Neptune. Massive energy signatures, each larger than a planet. Sarah stared in disbelief. What the hell is that? Ethan whispered, it's feeding on starlight. Then he looked at her, eyes wide with fear. They're eating the sun. Panic spread across the fleet. The light of distant stars began to dim. Power systems on Mars and the Moon flickered as the Helios network weakened. Ethan raced to the control console. We can't fight them with ships. They're too big, too ancient. We need something more. Sarah turned to him. What do you have in mind? He looked out the window toward Earth. Helios isn't just a weapon. It's a living system, a link between us and the planet. If we can amplify it through all the colonies, we might reach beyond the solar system itself. Sarah frowned. You mean turn humanity into one giant energy pulse? He nodded. Yes. A voice the whole galaxy can hear. In the darkness beyond Neptune, the first Star Eater opened its jaws. Light vanished from the stars behind it. Its voice reached every human mind, not through sound, but through thought. You shine so brightly, little ones. We hunger for your fire. On Earth, people felt the chill in their hearts. The oceans trembled. The skies dimmed. But something else happened too. The Helios towers began to glow again. One by one, around the world, golden light rose from every city, every colony. Sarah looked at the display. They're responding. People can feel it. Ethan smiled faintly. They're not afraid this time. The Helios network came alive, brighter than ever before. From Earth, the Moon, Mars, and even the stations near Jupiter, golden energy connected across the solar system. It formed a glowing web that surrounded the planets like a shield. When the Star Eaters reached the edge of the light, they stopped. Their bodies sizzled under the golden glow. Zoritha's voice echoed from his command vessel hidden behind them. You see, Star Eaters? That is your meal. Consume it. The monsters roared, and darkness clashed against light. The Helios network trembled, energy surging through every link. The war between creation and consumption had begun. Ethan gripped the console. Sarah, if the network overloads, the entire system could burn. Sarah shouted over the alarms. Then guide it, Ethan. You're the only one who can. He closed his eyes. Helios, it's me. Listen. The golden web pulsed in response, alive, aware, and ready. For a moment, the entire solar system held its breath. Then, a brilliant wave of light erupted outward, smashing into the first Star Eater. The creature screamed as its body shattered into dust. The others recoiled, retreating for the first time in eons. But in the distance, more shadows moved, hundreds of them. Ethan opened his eyes, sweat running down his face. That was just the beginning, he whispered. They're not invading one planet. They're consuming the galaxy. Sarah looked out the window at the stars slowly fading one by one. Then we stop them, no matter what it takes. And far away, in the darkness, Zorith smiled. Let the humans burn their light bright, before it dies forever. The alien skies burned red. The mighty Zorith Empire, once feared across the stars, was now in chaos. Their giant ships floated like broken bones above their own planet. For the first time in 1,000 years, the aliens felt something they never knew before: fear. General Vorlek watched from his command tower. He could not believe what he was seeing. The human fleet had entered their space, not with huge numbers, but with something worse: silence. No words, no demands, no warning. Just dark ships moving like shadows. Every Zorith scanner failed to read their energy. Every weapon they fired missed. Where did they come from? One officer screamed. Vorlek stayed quiet. Deep inside, he remembered the day Earth was mocked in the council chamber. The day they laughed when humans were called weak. Now that laughter haunted him. The human ships surrounded their planet in perfect formation. Not even a sound came from their engines. The Zorith fleet tried to attack, but their missiles never reached. Midway in flight, the weapons simply vanished, swallowed by invisible shields. Then, a single transmission echoed across the Empire. A human voice, calm, cold, and steady. "This is Commander Arlen of Earth Defense. You mocked our home, destroyed our colonies, and laughed when our people died. You said humans were only dust. Now you will understand what dust becomes under pressure." Before anyone could reply, the human fleet fired. Not lasers, not plasma, something else entirely. The beams were white, almost peaceful in color. But wherever they touched, alien ships turned to ash. No explosion, no debris, just silence and light. The Empire's proudest ship, the Eternal Wrath, tried to retreat. It didn't even make it halfway. One human drone followed it like a ghost and melted it into nothing. Billions across the planet watched their defense crumble. On the Zorith capital, panic spread. Citizens ran into shelters, leaders screamed for surrender, but it was too late. The human fleet had already disabled every communication satellite. Only one last message escaped. From the Emperor himself. "Human Commander," the Emperor spoke. "We surrender. Please, stop this." But Earth didn't answer. Commander Arlen stood silent on the bridge of his ship, the Dawnfire. His crew waited for an order. He stared at the hologram of the alien planet. Glowing cities, proud towers, beautiful skies. For a second, he almost felt pity. But then he remembered the faces of children lost in the first alien attack. He raised his hand. "End it." And the human fleet moved like a storm. Orbital beams cut through the planet's surface, slicing oceans apart. Mountains exploded into dust. The Zorith Empire screamed, and then, nothing. The planet went dark. In space, the stars reflected on the shattered fragments of what was once the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Hours later, Commander Arlen sent a single message to every world that had once mocked Earth. "Humanity does not seek war. But never mistake peace for weakness. We remember everything." Across hundreds of systems, alien leaders fell silent. The humans had changed the balance of power forever. They were no longer the ones crawling for mercy. They had become something greater, something the galaxy would fear for generations. Back on Earth, people gathered to watch the live transmission of victory. There were no cheers, no celebrations. Just quiet respect for those who had fallen. Humanity had won, but at a cost. They had shown the universe what they could become when pushed too far. In the silence of space, among the burning ruins of the Zorith world, a single human satellite recorded the last flicker of alien energy. And as it faded away, Earth's flag shimmered in the reflection of a dying sun. For the first time in history, the galaxy truly understood. Humans were not just survivors. They were the reckoning. The war was over. The Zorith Empire was gone, its great towers fallen, its once endless fleets turned to drifting metal dust. Across the galaxy, every civilization watched the silent sky and whispered one name: Earth. But for the humans, victory didn't feel like joy. Commander Arlen stood at the window of the Dawnfire, staring at the blue marble far away, home. The planet looked peaceful, innocent, nothing like the shadow it had cast upon the stars. Behind him, Lieutenant Maya approached slowly. "Sir," she said quietly, "transmission lines are open. The entire galaxy is listening." Arlen didn't answer right away. He was tired, not in body, but in soul. Billions of voices had cried out during the war. Entire species had begged for mercy. And yet, humanity had done what needed to be done. Now came the hardest part, deciding what came next. He turned to the control panel and nodded. "Start the broadcast." A blue light filled the command deck. All across the galaxy, in every language and on every frequency, a human face appeared, calm, strong, and unshaken. "This is Commander Arlen of Earth," he began. His voice echoed through alien halls and control rooms, through orbiting stations and dark colonies. "The war between Earth and the Zorith Empire has ended. The aggressors have been destroyed." He paused for a moment, then continued, "To every world that watched us suffer, to every race that turned away while we burned, we have a message." Behind him, the stars shifted as Earth's entire fleet came into formation. Thousands of ships aligned perfectly, glowing with blue light like a wall of silent judgment. "Humanity does not seek revenge," Arlen said. "We seek respect. We seek peace built on truth, not fear. We remember how you laughed when our home was attacked. But now you will remember this day, the day humans stood as one." On alien planets, leaders bowed their heads. Some in guilt, some in awe. "From this day forward," Arlen said, "Earth stands as a guardian of balance. Harm one world, and you answer to all of us. Harm Earth, and you will see what happens when dust turns into fire." His voice grew colder, sharper. "We do not conquer. We do not enslave. But we never forget." When the message ended, the transmission cut to silence. Across the stars, no one dared to speak. Empires that had ruled for millennia began sending peace treaties within hours. Trade routes reopened, ambassadors arrived on Earth, and the word human became both a symbol of fear and respect. But even as peace spread, something else began: change. Earth scientists, now funded by alien technology, rebuilt the colonies that were once destroyed. The fleet grew stronger, faster, smarter. The Dawnfire became a legend, a name written in every galactic archive. And humanity learned, not just how to fight but how to lead. Years later, when the stars over Earth burned bright, a small boy on the moon colony looked up and asked his teacher, "Is it true, ma'am, that humans once destroyed an entire empire?" The teacher smiled sadly. "Yes. But not because they wanted to. They did it because they had no choice." "Then why do the stars still fear us?" the boy asked. She looked at the sky and whispered, "Because they know what happens when humans are pushed too far." Far away, on the edge of the Milky Way, an old alien captain recorded a final message in his ship's log. "Never test Earth again. They are not gods. They are not monsters. They are humans, and that is enough." As his ship drifted through the stars, the faint glow of Earth's distant sun shimmered in his eyes. Somewhere beyond that light, humanity watched too, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Commander Arlen stood once more on the bridge of Dawnfire. He looked at the stars and whispered softly, "We were mocked once. Never again." The engines of his ship roared, spreading light across the darkness. One by one, the human ships disappeared into the void, not to destroy, but to explore, to protect, to remind the universe that peace, too, can have power. And so the story of Earth became legend. A legend that echoed across galaxies. When the alien empire mocked Earth, they sealed their own doom. But in that doom, humanity found its destiny. The stars would never forget.